How do you get found these days, from traditional search on Google and other search engines to generative AI search to social media? And then how do you stay in touch with people who find you? How do you convert the right people into customers? Content plays a huge role in all of this, and content repurposing can help tie all the threads together. Let's look into this further. You're listening to the Content 10x podcast, where it's all about content repurposing. I'm Amy Woods, and I'm here to help you maximize your content and find smart ways to get your message in front of more of the right people, whilst also saving time. Let's get started. Hello and welcome to the Content 10x podcast. I'm your host, Amy Woods, and in this episode, we're looking at ways that content repurposing can help fuel a content strategy that spans search, email, and social media. This is following on from my fantastic conversation with Neil Schaefer. The episode is called The Secrets of Digital First Marketing, and we talked about the key elements of a digital first marketing campaign and how they all tie in together in order to work effectively. So in this episode, I'll cover the importance of search, email, and social media marketing, the SES framework, as Neil Schaefer calls it, how content is critical and content repurposing may well be just the key to success with this, and the types of content you can repurpose to make the framework easier. Now, before we get to the main content, just to mention that if you want content repurposing tips and guidance, industry updates, inspiring stories and exclusive news delivered straight to your inbox every other week, then join thousands of marketers, business owners and creators and become a Content 10x insider. Just head to content10x.com/newsletter. Okay, back to the main subject of this episode. Now, when I reflect on my fantastic conversation with Neil Schaefer, we talked about a digital first marketing strategy and the SES framework, the SES framework, which is search, email, and social media, as I mentioned earlier. And we talked about why each of them play an important role and how they tie in with each other. So first, search. Why search is important? Well, obviously, it's to get found, but it's not just as straightforward as that anymore. People aren't just jumping onto Google, so as long as you have a great SEO strategy for your blog posts and web pages, then you're all good. Because these days, people are just as likely to try and find you via Instagram as a Google or Bing search. People also use TikTok as a search engine, and of course YouTube, there's nothing new there in terms of YouTube being a search engine, but also people search using generative AI tools. Perplexity in particular does a great job with the search, and more people would use Perplexity over Google. I recorded an entire episode on this called Optimizing Content for AI, Effective Repurposing Tactics. So check that out, episode 311. And I also talked a lot about Gen AI search with Christopher Penn in episode 310 called How to Win with Gen AI Search. Super interesting topics, so there'll be links in the show notes to both of those episodes. What we know for sure about search is that you need to create content. You need content on your own website, which is your online home. And it's important that you have a presence on the platforms where your audience are likely to be searching. Whether that's TikTok or LinkedIn, platform-specific strategies are so important for this. A general social media strategy isn't really enough to be discovered on the social media platform search. Your presence needs to be strategic on those platforms. And then let's look at email. So email comes into its own once you've been found, and the next obvious step is to stay in touch. So nurture that lead until hopefully they become a client or a customer. So email provides you with the opportunity to deliver regular, high quality information straight to your interested audience members, straight to your email list. You can build authority, keep yourself top of mind, and become a trusted resource, which is all important in the buyer journey. And again, content plays a massive role in email. You have an email list, you need content to serve them. And then the second S in the SES framework is social media. So Neil put it last in his framework because he finds often it's given way too much importance at the neglect of search and email. Ideally, they should all work together. Social is a little bit different because it plays an important part in search and getting found, and it plays a crucial role in staying in touch and keeping front of mind in influencer marketing, user-generated content, brand awareness content, community building, and so on. So again, content fuels social media. So we create content for search, we create content for email, and we create content for social media. That's a lot of content, and it can become overwhelming. Your content needs to speak to your audience, it needs to be valuable, and it should be platform specific as well. It's not easy to keep up with all of this. It would be great if you could create content that covers all three of the search, email, and social media sections of the funnel. So some sort of system that helps you effectively straddle these important content marketing areas. Well, guess what? You can if you put in place content repurposing processes and systems that help you create content for search, email, and social media. This is exactly what we have been helping our clients with for the past 7 years at Content 10x. So we help them develop really effective content repurposing that focuses on quality and on search, email, and social. That's what we're all about at Content 10x. So let's dig into this a little bit more. So what type of content sits right at the top that you can create for search? Let's think about that first. So I'm thinking long form content, such as a cornerstone blog post, a white paper, a report, maybe a webinar, maybe a video series, or this could be your podcast episode like this. So this is your meaty, valuable thought leadership content. You put a lot of thought into it. It shares your unique point of view. We're usually talking about long-form written, video or audio content. And this content is going to live on your website, your online home. So do keyword research and optimize for SEO. Create this content and this lives on your website. You can then repurpose this content into content for your email list. So let's say you have a weekly email, then it could be broken down into interesting segments from your pillar content to make up a series of emails that get delivered on a weekly cadence, for example, or like we do at Content 10x, we have a bi-weekly newsletter that delivers value every 2 weeks. So some of the focus of our newsletter is from our pillar content, so this, our podcast, that we can repurpose into content for the newsletter. But we'll also repurpose other content into the newsletter, for example, our sister podcast, B2B Content Strategist, and from other thought leadership content that we create. So we will create that top pillar content that we always pay attention to search when we're creating, and then repurpose that into the valuable newsletter. And if you're interested in finding out more about our newsletter, head to content10x.com/newsletter. Having an email list combined with having regular thought leadership content means that you always have great content to repurpose into valuable content for email subscribers. Your email subscribers won't be watching your every single move and devouring every piece of content you create. So they'll be happy to be told about your new content and your new ideas in your emails. Now, this pillar content that you create can then be repurposed into social media content. So considering the SES framework, we created content for search, which can be repurposed into content for email and can also be repurposed into content for social media. I love how Neil went for that order in the SES framework, search, email, social. It could have been email, social, search, or social, search, email, but he went for search, email, social. And I personally love that because that's the order that I would repurpose the content into as well. So let's take the top of funnel content, the cornerstone article, the video, the podcast episode, the webinar, whatever that may be, and repurpose it into platform-specific content for your social media channels. Very importantly, emphasis on the word your social media channels. So where your audience hang out, not everywhere, but being specific to you. Now, this could be breaking down the content into short social formats or creating new content on that topic. For example, you could record a short video of yourself talking about one of the key points from the pillar piece to then share that as a vertical video on LinkedIn created specifically for LinkedIn. Or maybe you could create an image carousel for LinkedIn that emphasizes an important point or statistic or insight from your core pillar content. You can also repurpose into content for influencers that you work with, if that works with your strategy, providing them with pillar content and social content, encouraging them to find ways to communicate in their own style to their audience. The beauty of repurposing in this way is that you have a system making things easier. You're not constantly coming up with new ideas for every part of the funnel. You're finding ways to communicate the same ideas to satisfy the SES, the search, email, social framework. You're also staying on point and therefore controlling what you want to be known for. And this will also help massively with generative AI search as well. So there you have it, more on how you can use repurposing to help you with digital marketing to get found by the right people and nurture them all the way to becoming customers. If you like this topic, then go check out episode 208 called Content That Converts, How to Repurpose Your Content for Your Marketing Funnel, because I share lots more tips on this topic in that episode, content10x.com/208. Now, as always, this episode comes to you from Content 10x. Our expert team transform B2B content into multiple formats and distribute across various platforms. So we help you maximize reach and impact, taking core content and then creating lots of additional valuable content. So we work with webinars and events and white papers and blog posts and podcast episodes, you name it, and then we'll repurpose into engaging assets for social media, for search, and for email as discussed in this podcast episode. So you can trust Content 10x to enhance your content strategy and ensure your message is seen and heard by the right audience. So if you want to know more about our repurposing services or our consulting and strategy support or our content creation services, then just head to content10x.com or you can email info@content10x.com. Okay, that's a wrap for this episode. All that's left to say is thank you so much for being here and listening, and I'll catch you in the next one.